Hi, it's been a while. Uh, I haven't had a whole lot to say because I couldn't really think of much to say. But there is one thing that has actually got my attention. One thing that has actually caught my eye that I am thinking about that I don't know how to interpret, and that of course is the fourth dimension. Now, what we need to do is we need to ask ourselves what we mean by fourth dimension, because there's going to be a lot of people just going to say, well, that's obvious. The fourth dimension is time. And there's also going to be a bunch of idiots that are going to say that we're on the third dimension and spiritually we're going to move one day into the fourth dimension, and then after that we'll be on the fifth dimension somewhere, and there's a lot of this malarkey going around about dimensions. But when I ask the question, is there a fourth dimension? I am talking about a fourth spatial dimension. Now, Mark Tassi, he has a lot of spiritual views when it comes to these things, and he talks about the seven dimensions that the existence that we have, that we live on, there must be seven dimensions. Here's the thing, though. When I say seven dimensions, I am talking about seven axes, seven spatial dimensions. Four spatial dimensions is what I mean. Four ways that you can point. Another way that is pretty much perpendicular to what we know and understand in our limited three-dimensional universe. And this topic hasn't really been addressed. Now, there are people who talk about these realms that vibrate in different frequencies. There can be people who are walking right over us or right through us, or however that works, like two beams of light go through each other. And this is a realm, basically. But what I'm saying is, what if it's possible that the Earth that we live in has multiple spatial dimensions? You put two lines and you connect them with two other lines. That's four lines together. That's a square, two dimensions. You take two squares and you connect them together with two more squares, or not two more squares, but another square, Or actually, you would take a square and you would connect it with four squares, technically, because 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you get the point. I'm talking about a cube, right? Which is four squares. Actually, six. But you get my point. What if you could do the same thing with 8 cubes? And it pointed in another dimension, another direction, another axis. One that we cannot see with our simple 3D eyes. It has to be understood that when I say this, I am not talking in the same ridiculous sense that Infinite Waters is talking about. This airy-fairy, hippie, woo-woo bullshit. What I am talking about, my friend, is geometry. I'm talking about science. I'm talking about nuts and bolts. Is there any scientific thing that points to another axis in space that can point to us, but we can't point to it, is my question. And I think this is the question we really need to be asking when we talk about the fourth dimension. We don't need to be asking, well, is there a fourth dimension that's different than the three that we're in right now? There's obviously a fourth dimension that's different than the one we're in right now. The question I'm asking is there a fourth dimension that is exactly the same as the one we're in right now, except it points in a different direction? And that, my friend, is the question of the fourth dimension. Not that infinite waters bullshit, not that, I get it. Time is the fourth dimension that we know of. But that's not my question.